Today, we'll talk about something very important and relevant: products and goods that can be a real lifesaver in critical situations. In this video, we'll go over the list of essentials in more detail. I won't be fear-mongering, but our history has seen plenty of examples of people facing serious trials: wars, natural disasters, economic crises. And invariably, those who were prepared had a better chance not just to survive, but also to maintain their dignity. The practice of creating stockpiles is rooted deep in human history. This was especially evident after the Great Patriotic War and the Siege of Leningrad. People who lived through those terrible years often continued to stockpile out of habit due to the trauma they had experienced. It seemed to many that these stockpiles would never be needed. The time of peace had been too long. But the wisdom of generations says, "Forewarned is forearmed." It's important to understand that this isn't about panic, but about reasonable precaution. Stockpiles are not just about survival, but also about comfort, stability, and confidence in the future. Moreover, these stockpiles need to be stored correctly and rotated periodically so they don't lose their properties. I will highlight 5 key areas that will help you be prepared for any unexpected events. Long shelf life food products. This refers to canned goods, grains, and dried fruits, which can be stored for years. But it's important not just to accumulate them, but to know the storage rules. For example, buckwheat can last up to 10 years. When forming reserves, the critical point is the correct calculation of quantity. The volume should cover your personal needs with a margin for force majeure and even possible trade. Everyone determines their own safety horizon, but a sensible approach never hurts. Now for specific products. Salt is an absolutely essential product worth stockpiling. But sugar is more complicated. I strongly advise against making large reserves of sugar. It is frankly harmful to your health. In critical situations, the body needs maximum support, and sugar only depletes its reserves. An alternative is natural syrups, for example from Jerusalem artichoke. They are not only tasty but also practically eternal. In cellar conditions, such syrups can be stored for up to 100 years without the slightest change. And if you add berries, you get a real delicacy. A separate topic is honey. It is a unique product with incredible storage properties. Moreover, it should be stored only in glass containers, must be natural, and preferably from a trusted producer. Honey is not just a food product, but also a potential unit of exchange in difficult conditions. Caution is also needed with canned goods. Yes, they are convenient and not afraid of moisture, but their nutritional value drops catastrophically after prolonged heat treatment. An exception is rare types of canned goods, for example, raw food pâtés made from natural products. Pay special attention to pseudo-cereals and rare crops. Buckwheat, flax, lentils, millet, amaranth, these crops should be stocked first. Ideally, you should have different types of organic grain, from spelt to rare varieties of wheat. A separate category is oils. Coconut oil in a glass container can be stored for 10 or more years without losing its properties. It's simply a unique product. Olive oil in a tin can is stored for up to 2 years. Lastly, an important point for animal owners: don't forget a supply of pet food. Concentrated proteins such as hemp are an excellent option for long-term storage. The main principle: maximum nutrients in the smallest volume. A sensible choice, quality, and a strategic approach, this is the key to creating reliable food reserves. Let's continue our conversation about strategic food reserves. Let's focus in more detail on nuts, an amazing product with an incredibly long shelf life. Nuts in their shells are a real treasure trove of longevity. They can be stored for years and under the right conditions, even for decades. This is especially true for pine nuts. If they are preserved in vacuum packaging and kept cold, their shelf life can reach tens of years. An important advantage is the preservation of all nutritional properties. Take, for example, our vegan dry mixes. They undergo a unique vacuum drying technology at a temperature not exceeding 40 degrees. This is a crucial point. Such a gentle process allows for the preservation of absolutely all beneficial components, vitamins, enzymes, microelements. Such products can be stored for 10, 15, or even 20 years without any loss of quality. A special word should be said about spices. For long-term storage, I recommend considering different types of pepper and turmeric. They keep well and do not lose their properties. Sauces can also be an excellent addition to your supplies. But here it is important to choose only organic products without genetic modifications. For example, apple cider vinegar is not just a condiment. It is a real health aid. Just a teaspoon in a third of a glass of warm water before a meal improves digestion and helps disinfect the stomach. Vinegar can also be used for sponging and a multitude of other household needs. Nutrient concentrates deserve special attention, true lifesavers in conditions of deficiency and stress. I am talking about spirulina and chlorella, unique algae, wild harvested, without laboratory processing. They contain the full spectrum of B vitamins and trace elements in an organic, highly absorbable form. In critical conditions, whether it's a lack of sunlight or a poor diet, these supplements literally work wonders. They take up minimal space but provide maximum energy and support for the body. Moreover, such concentrates can be stored for decades. The packaging allows them to be kept in the ground or in water. An equally important element of the stockpile is soap. And not just any soap, but natural, organic soap. It has been historically proven. In crisis situations, soap literally becomes a golden commodity. It can be used for laundry, washing hands and body, and dishes. And some types, for example with added mustard, have antibacterial properties. Continuing with the topic of strategic stockpiles with a focus on medical and hygiene supplies. Special attention should be paid to sorbents and first aid supplies. Activated charcoal, white clay, and diatomite are literal lifesavers for various types of poisoning. Diatomite, by the way, is a real treasure trove of silicone and other useful minerals. It not only helps to eliminate toxins, but also has powerful bactericidal properties. Separately, I want to emphasize the importance of proper medication storage. Many bacterial preparations and sorbents can be stored for up to 2 years, and their shelf life is significantly extended in the refrigerator or freezer. Imagine, literally 2 sips of the preparation and acute poisoning is stopped. Moreover, such remedies are suitable for both adults and children. A first aid kit is a separate big topic. Besides the standard kit of items like iodine and hydrogen peroxide, it is worth taking care of personal medications. Antibiotics, painkillers, medications for chronic diseases, all of this can be priceless in a critical situation. It is no less important to have a supply of printed materials, books on herbalism, homesteading skills, and cartographic materials. In the event of a power outage, such sources of information will become a real salvation. Printed instructions, local maps, survival guides, all of this can prove to be invaluable. Pay special attention to basic consumables: needles, thread, scissors. In peacetime, they cost pennies, but in a crisis, they can literally become as valuable as gold. History knows many examples where the simplest household items became essential necessities and even a medium of exchange. Don't forget about a basic wardrobe either: sets of underwear, socks, comfortable and practical clothing, and footwear. And we're not talking about fashion trends, but about the most functional items possible that will last a long time and provide comfort in any conditions. A separate category of strategic supplies is items for starting fires and for heating. Matches, gas canisters, portable stoves, anything that can provide warmth and the ability to cook food. An interesting fact: many gas canisters and camping stoves can be stored for years, regardless of their officially stated expiration dates. The main principle when building up supplies is to think ahead. Imagine a scenario where it's impossible to buy anything, and it will become crystal clear what exactly you need to stock up on right now. Let me emphasize, I am not talking about panic or an imminent catastrophe. This is simply reasonable foresight. Take, for instance, the experience of civilians who suddenly found themselves in difficult circumstances and were left without basic resources. The problem with preparing for unforeseen situations is that people rarely think about potential risks, living under the illusion of stability. We are used to thinking that everything will be fine, and we postpone preparation until later. However, experience shows that being prepared is not about panicking, it is elementary foresight. The most valuable asset in a crisis situation is land. And this doesn't just mean a personal plot, but also the possibility of creating collective farms or cooperative settlements. Such an approach allows for pooling resources, distributing the workload, and increasing the chances of survival. A collective farm is not just a way to grow food, it is a whole philosophy of mutual support and joint survival. As a specific example, consider the farm in the Pskov Oblast that the author is offering for sale. It is a truly unique plot. 150 hectares of land in the Loknyansky district, literally dotted with lakes of glacial origin. The area boasts a pristine environment. Smelt are found here, forests grow, and there is virtually no population around. The infrastructure is also a plus. There is electricity and good access roads. Such a place is ideal for creating an eco-village. The land is already divided into plots, and there are wooden houses, including some on the lakeshore. Initially, the author planned to organize a private nature reserve here, but admits that maintaining 2 large farms is physically and mentally impossible. A key piece of advice for those living in the city is creating caches with necessary supplies. This refers to special plastic barrels that can be buried in the ground. Everything most essential should be placed inside, from food and medications to first aid supplies. No less important is the so-called go bag, a compact bag with the minimum of items necessary for an emergency evacuation. It is important to plan routes to backup locations, be it a relative's property or a safe shelter. The author emphasizes one must be prepared to travel on foot, relying only on one's own strength. For more detailed preparation, he recommends his Survival Information product, where all possible scenarios and necessary items are laid out in great detail. Special emphasis is placed on the economic situation. Our source predicts an inevitable price increase due to the dollar exchange rate, which will affect even goods produced in Russia but dependent on imported raw materials. The main thing is not to panic, but to methodically and sensibly prepare for possible changes. Creating supplies, backup territories, and uniting with like-minded people. This is the key to peace of mind and confidence in the future.